Hello and welcome to the Ordering Formula Explained Part 1. My name is Nicole Holmes and I am a provider training coordinator for the Philadelphia Department of Public Health's immunization program. For this training, we have just one objective, and that is to make sure that you understand how to correctly calculate the vaccine product order for a 4-week order. Reconciliation review. Many of you are familiar with this screen, so I'll make this short. We're going to focus on the top 3 boxes. Starting from the left, we have today's date, then the last reconciliation date, and then the last order date. The last order date is important, but we're not going to focus on that during this training here. What I want you to notice is the dates. So looking at today's date, which is May 28th, 2025, and then we have the last reconciliation date, which is April 30th, 2025. Here's how they're connected. It's the number of weeks since the last time you reconciled. So keep that in mind because we're going to need that a little bit later on. And as a reminder, you must submit your complete, closed, and correct reconciliation every single month, even if you don't need to place an order. The same goes for your temperature logs. And by not submitting your temps or your reconciliation, it may result in your site not being able to place an order. And here we have just a little screenshot of a calendar. Now, remember, I told you we were going to use that information a little bit later. Later has come. So we placed our order. The last order we placed was April 30th. Now we have to count 4 weeks exactly. It's the easiest math is to count it exactly by week. Don't worry about the date. You just have to worry about the number of weeks. So you want to make sure that you're ordering or you're reconciling on the same day of the week as the last time you reconciled. So in this case, it was Wednesday, and we just do the math. 4 weeks from April 30th is May 28th. Next, we're going to go through this really quickly because I know most of you are really familiar with this. You're pros at this point. Aggregate administered is just the number of doses administered since the last time you reconciled. Physical count is the number of doses that you have on hand in your unit at the time of your reconciliation. Inventory difference is the difference between the doses you have on hand and the doses administered. Now, the reason why this is 0 is because we've already input the number for our physical count and our aggregate administered. Once you do that, you should get a 0. If you don't get a 0, if you have a positive number, then you have a problem. So if you can't figure out what the issue is, make sure that you reach out to our team. And then we have acceptable inventory difference. Now, once everything is right on that line item, you should get that beautiful green check mark. Once you get that, you're good to go. Make sure that you have it before you close your reconciliation because sometimes you might miss and see a red stop icon, which is really important because that red stop icon will tell our VFC ordering team that something's not right with this reconciliation and you'll have to start all over again. So make sure you double check your work before you submit. And then finally, we have expiring soon column. And this column will indicate a little red clock. And it's just a visual alarm to let you know, hey, you have some doses expiring soon. And we want to make sure that you prioritize using those doses first. And we want you to apply the FIFO method, which is first in, first out. Now we're going to get into identifying duplicate vaccine products. This is also going to take a little bit of time. So starting with the first 2 line items, we have DTaP, and the product brand, as you can see, is Infinrix. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're not looking at the lot number. We're not looking at the expiration date or the NDC. We're looking at the brand name of the vaccine product. Next, we have combination vaccine, which is DTaP, Hep B, and IPV. That brand is Pediarix. So you see how we're grouping all of our duplicate brand products. And again, another example, we have Gardasil, Menquadfi, Bexsero here, MMR2, Polio IPV, IPOL, Rototec, and Beyfortus. And then rounding it out here, we have Tdap absorbed, which is the brand name is Adacel. And then finally, we have varicella, and that's Varifex. Now we're going to get into actually doing the math for a 4-week cycle order. And here are some important things that you need to know. A 4-week cycle order is completed every 4 weeks from the day you submit your reconciliation. The 4-week cycle math is accurate, easier, and it's a 2 to 3 step process. It's 2 steps if you don't have multiples of the same brand products. It's 3 steps if you do have multiples of the same brand products. So it's important that you check your inventory first. Calculate the total number of doses needed by step 1, addition. And you're only doing this step if you have multiple products. The math is the total number of doses administered and the total number of doses on hand. Step 2 is multiplication. And the equation is the number of doses administered times 2, which equals X. Now, I know some of y'all are saying, oh, Lord, the letters are coming in with the math, but I promise it's not that hard. And then step 3 is subtraction. And you'll take that X and subtract the number of doses that you have on hand. And that will give you the total number of doses that you need to order. So we're going to do the math and we're going to start with addition. And of course, we're going to get the total number of doses needed by step 1. And then the math again is the total number of doses administered, total number of doses on hand. But we're not adding these together. We're just getting the total number of doses of each of these. And we're going to use these later. So we're going to go back to our first example with Infinrix. We have highlighted here, and you can see in the aggregate administered column, we have 3 plus 18. And then in the physical count column, we have 0 plus 12. Now, I want you to ignore the negative symbol in front of the numbers. That is not important in this step at all. So we're just going to do some really basic math. As you can see on the screen, I want you to get a piece of paper and a pencil and a calculator or your phone, and do this math along with me, because the more you practice it, the easier it will become, okay? So we get the total of 3 plus 8, which is 21, and then 0 plus 12 equals 12, because 0 plus any number equals that number. And so here we have the total number of doses administered is going to be 21. And then the total number of doses on hand is going to be 12. Now I want you to keep these two numbers, circle them, and keep them in your back pocket. We're going to pick those up in just a few seconds. Now we're going to do the math and start to multiply. Stay with me, okay? So the equation is the number of doses administered times 2, and that equals X. So we have, again, 3 plus 18 equals 21. We take the 21 and plug that in, and we say 21 times 2 equals 42, right? X equals 42. That was very simple, right? Let's move on. Now we're going to do the math and do subtraction now. The equation, as a reminder, is X minus the number of doses on hand equals the number of doses you need to order. So we're going to keep plugging in those numbers, okay? We're not going to just throw those away. We're going to use those numbers. 42 minus 12 equals 30. The number of doses that you need to order is 30. You see how simple that was? And here's a really important note. You cannot order more than the number of doses needed. If for some reason you have an influx of patients, then please reach out to our team and tell them that you have an emergency order. But you do have to justify that, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And here's a reminder to round up. So if the product is packaged in sets of 5 doses, order 1 box if you need 5 or less doses, okay? If the product is packaged in sets of 10 doses, order 1 box if you need 10 doses or less. So here is where we actually are getting into the actual order. And as you can see, we're using that same example of Infinrix, And we can see here that Infinrix is packaged in 10 pre-filled syringes per package. And if you can zoom in, I did highlight it so that you can see where those numbers would be. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it's all the way on the left, and other times it's on the right, like it is here. So for this order, you would only need to order 30 doses, which equals 3 boxes. Now, again, if you need to order more than what the math allows, justification is absolutely required by the CDC when you're ordering more. Now, if you don't write in this box here why you need these doses, you will not get the doses. You will only get the math that comes out to the total that you actually need. So if you have any additional questions or anything about this process and you feel like you need a little additional help with this formula, please email our team at dphproviderhelp@phila.gov, and I'm sure someone will be happy to help you. And thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.